Welcome. Today we want to talk about the pandemic pause that 2.9 million of you took.
Yes.
And where do we do now that we're fairly back into that new normal? I think we're all going to be living with COVID for the rest of our lives as a potential virus that comes up.
Well, really interesting, Suze, when it was happening, when we were watching the numbers of people who were leaving, and we knew who many of them are our moms, that are out there. When we were watching it happen, we said there's going to be a period of time where we're really going to have to start to talk about those people that stepped out and rethink maybe what.
Right. And at what point is the return, right? Because we're still kind of navigating it.
Right.
By now, I think most people are realizing that we're back to this kind of new normal. So it's an opportunity for you to start thinking about what has changed. Right.
So let's just talk about that from like sort of the global like change that happened. What has changed in our working world as a result of the pandemic?
I think the biggest change, and this is a real positive change, is that people who were reluctant, business leaders, managers who were reluctant to allow their employees to work in a slightly unconventional way, had their hands forced. Because if you wanted your people to be productive during COVID and they had children home from school, you had to let them work from home. So I think we have tightened our technology or improved our technology to allow people to work. I mean, we're using Zoom right now. 4 years ago, a lot of people, or 3 years ago, people weren't using Zoom like they are now. We've also, managers have been forced to become better managers, to really know what their employees are supposed to do so they can measure them, whether they're sitting in front of them or not. And then the biggest piece is that companies have been forced to create really good flexible work policies where they didn't have them before. And more importantly, managers are using them. And that's a real plus.
Absolutely. And, you know, we talk to a lot of recruiters and people that are out there doing the hiring, and they are open to the idea of there being flexible work in, you know, the discussion when it comes to
and kind of in perpetuity. I think you don't pull that back. Now, some companies are saying we want you in a day or two a week, and that I think that's actually a good thing, to have that kind of face time. But I don't think any company can survive now by saying, "Oh, we let you work from home, but now you can't." That's not going to happen. So that's a real plus.
Okay, so once we've kind of taken a look at that piece, we really need to start to take a look at ourselves, because that is a big part of what's happened. How have you changed during the pandemic? And one of the areas to look at are your values. There could be a significant value shift that happened for you during the pandemic, where you realized, I actually want to invest more time in, you know, in my home and in this space, or being away from work and having time to focus on your health. And that it might be a change that's happened for you.
Sometimes zooming out also gives you an opportunity to look at what it was like before and say, you know what, this wasn't really working for us. Either I really don't like my job. I really don't like my team. I don't like my field, or I just don't like the way I was doing the work. And these are the kinds of things you need to start thinking about before you decide what's next.
I've had a lot of personal clients who have said it's the grind, you know, not that they're not willing to do hard work, because they are willing to do hard work, but they're not willing to essentially kill themselves in the process. That's like a non-negotiable now. So taking a look at how your values have shifted, and within that also your priorities, what is important to you when it comes to the kind of work that you want to do. If you have a financial imperative, that is something that, you know, probably falls in that top 3, then you're going to have to be a little bit more flexible with the work that you're going to take on, because you do have that as a top priority. But if, you know, looking at more of, you know, fulfillment from the work that you're doing, and feeling like you're giving back is something that you want to do. If you were working in an industry that really didn't do work in an altruistic way, then maybe that is what you're doing. Maybe you are pivoting to something new, or you're going to return to something completely different than you've done before.
And I think you bring up a really good point, the return. So when things have opened up, and I would say this fall, they pretty much opened up. I think most people are at least considering a return to work, but you really have 3 decisions to make. And only one of them is to resume where you left off. And that might be the best thing for you. You know the work, maybe you're going to resume, but using Kelley's idea of reevaluating your priorities and maybe making some shifts at work
Right.
Or,
Well, I think a great thing
Yeah.
is to understand your boundaries,
Mhm.
right? So what are my work boundaries now that
Yep.
I've done a little bit of reflection on this. What am I willing to do? And what am I no longer willing to do? Being clear about that and being clear in your communication with
So
those.
a really good example that just came up with a private client for me was she was traveling a lot pre-COVID, flying away a lot. And she realized that she can conduct these meetings in some ways more productively via this
Yes,
screen.
yes.
So that's one of the things that she has renegotiated going back to work.
Yep.
So you're going to think about option number one is just to resume where I left off, but to set some more boundaries to make sure that my needs are being met as the employee too.
Right.
The second thing is to restart, but in a different way. So yes, you want to go back to work, but you've done this reflection that Kelley took you through and you realized there is nothing about the work that I was doing before that really meets any of my priorities or really fulfills any of my values.
Right.
So it may be that your restart is a pivot into something new.
Right.
And I think we have an explore and assess freebie for you down below. If you click on it, it takes you through some of the things that you can do to explore and assess your career options. You don't want to jump directly from one thing to the other. You want to take some time to figure out what the right path is and if it meets your needs and if you meet the demands of the work.
Right.
And I think the third thing that it's a decision you and I both made it earlier in our careers is you may have decided after this COVID or the pandemic pause that it's the right time for you to stay home. So maybe it's just, I'm going to remain where I am.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And if you decide to do that, if you decide this is a time where my family needs me, please look through our YouTube library, because we did a video maybe 6 months ago on some things that you can do during a long extended pause to keep yourself relevant. The ways that you can volunteer, keep your skills current, keep your licensure current. So check that out, because it will give you a little bit more confidence in taking this pause, knowing that, okay, I've got a plan to keep myself relevant during this time that I'm home.
Right. So there you have it. Those are the things that you can be thinking about when it comes to a pandemic pause. If you're one of the people that took one, if you liked what you heard today, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can hit like, and then if you really want to learn more about Prepare to Launch You, you can visit our website at www.preparetolaunchu.com. Thanks.